Hey everyone, it's Liz, the Frugal Libertarian from frugallibertarian.com. And today's video is a special one because this is a collaboration with Amanda from The Fundamental Home. We're both doing videos together, and then we're also doing blog posts on our blogs together. All the links are going to be down below. I love Amanda. I've been watching her videos for a little while now, and I think she's fantastic. The way they live their lives. I really started watching because of her grocery shopping trip videos, and kind of went, oh my gosh, how is she doing that? And kind of just kept watching everything they did, and I felt like I was learning a lot from her. She is her and her husband live a zero debt life, which I think is fantastic. I'm kind of jealous because we are not there yet, and I wish we were. So, you know, I really think she's just awesome. And she's also really super, super honest. She is telling you exactly what she's doing or exactly what she's thinking. She's not exactly hiding anything. Everything she says is truly coming from her, and that to me is fantastic. So she's doing her video, I'm doing mine, and they are on the things that people tell you about having kids, which if you believe them and follow that advice, you're gonna have financial problems. Some of these are out and out myths. Some of them are more of a personal opinion. And I'm looking at the perspective from really small kid, because my son's gonna be 2, he's a toddler. And Amanda is gonna, I think, give an awesome perspective as a parent of older kids. Some of the things she's heard, she has more, you know, years of experience of hearing things than I do. And by the way, these are not things that like one random person said to me and acted like it was true. So I could just sit there and say, well, that person's crazy. These are things that many people have said to me. Many people. And to me, then once it ventures from single person into many, then it's definitely a myth. So, number 1, and this one's kind of hard to explain because when I explain it, it's not going to sound like I'm saying what I'm saying. Number 1, the identical product from the same company must be purchased at the highest price available, because the higher price means it's a better version of that product. People could argue, you know, if you go to, with kids, you go to, say, the diaper rash ointment shelf and you see, you know, there's one there for $2 and there's one for $10 or higher, and you're saying, well, the one that's $10 has more ingredients, it's different, it's organic, it has this, it has that, okay, I'm going to spend the $10 and get the expensive one for my kid. That's not what these people were telling me. These people were saying, you have to buy everything, diapers, wipes, formula, etc., at the highest possible price for the identical item. Basically saying, comparison shop for the specific Similac formula you're using and buy it at the highest price. Let that one sink in a moment. It makes absolutely zero logical sense, but this is something I was genuinely told by people. The idea that if you buy formula at, say, Target or Walmart or the grocery store or the pharmacy, it's a crappier quality. It's not the formula that's sold at, say, Babies R Us and other large baby retailers like Babies R Us that happen to have higher prices. The people that were telling me this were saying, well, the reason Babies R Us charges more is because the products they're receiving from the manufacturers are better quality. Basically saying, like my son, when he left the NICU, he had an eating issue while there. He had dropped weight. And so he was on a special premature infant Similac formula that had extra calories and extra fat and stuff in it to try to help him bulk up. Once we realized what was going on with his eating and were able to get him to eat, we didn't have to really use it anymore, and we were able to change to regular formula. I wasn't able to breastfeed, so I'm not going to sit here and champion one over the other, so we used formula, so that's why I'm mentioning it and using it as my example. So when my son was still in the NICU, I was talking to a couple different people, And I said how, oh, well, he's on this special formula. And they said to me, oh, you have to buy it at Babies R Us. And I said, well, no, I don't think they just sell it there. They sell it other places. And they said, no, they do sell it other places, but the ones they send to Babies R Us are better. And your kid needs the best. I understand that Babies R Us does get things that are proprietary. There's stuff that manufacturers make specifically for them and that will never go to another retailer. But that's not what they were saying. They were saying that Similac makes 2 versions of every formula they make. So if you look at it like the Similac regular, normal, everyday formula, which I think is the Similac Advance, they make one version of Similac Advance that goes to, say, Target, Stop and Shop, CVS, Walmart, all the other supermarkets, drugstores, chains. Then they make another version of Similac Advance that just goes to Babies R Us. Now, they may look the same, but Similac's making 2 different formulas. If this was true, Similac would have been sued by now by parents who thought they were buying a authentic Similac product but didn't realize the version they were getting wasn't as good. It also logistically, as a business for manufacturing purposes, this would require either having 2 factories or having your factory shut down production and restart production on a different formulation, which are both expensive to do. Now, there are dozens of reasons why retailers price things the way they do. They have to do with bulk purchasing, cost of real estate, cost of advertising, cost of labor. There's a ton of different reasons, there's a ton of different things that they consider when coming up with what they're going to price items at. They also look at, you know, competitiveness. What's my competitor pricing it at? That affects it too. Babies R Us is very expensive, but they're very expensive because they're very expensive. They either have higher leases, they maybe have a higher labor cost, they maybe don't buy as many in bulk that the other stores do, so they can't get the same kind of discount. Maybe it's their rewards program drives prices up, maybe it's their registry program. To be honest, I don't know what really drives them up, but I do know they're expensive. And I do know that it has nothing to do with the products Similac is making for them. I honestly, I cannot believe it. And like I said, it was not one person saying this to me. It was several. It was like a dozen or so who were like, everything must be purchased at Babies R Us because there, you know you're getting the best one because it costs more. And we couldn't afford to do that. And the people I know who did do that ended up in severely deep debt because of their children. And that to me is very depressing. The fact that this myth can keep going and going and all it's doing is hurting these consumers who really can't afford to spend like they are, but they're doing it because they think that this myth is true and that that is where they have to get the stuff to feed their child. So if that's something you've believed, I challenge you to call the formula manufacturer. Call Similac, call Enfamil, whatever brand it is you're using. Call them and ask them if there is any difference between the product they're sending to Babies R Us and the product they're sending to other retailers. And they will tell you that there isn't unless it's something that's proprietary. These myths don't come from a bad place. These are not parents doing something awful. These are parents who think to themselves, I've got to do the best for my child. And they incorrectly believe this is doing the best. So if you're one of those people that believes this, like I said, I would challenge you to question that belief and call the manufacturer, even if it's the diaper manufacturer, call Pampers and ask them if the ones they're sending, like I said, that you buy there are different than the ones you're buying at Target. I know there's other large baby chains. That's just the one that's closest to me, and that was what the person was telling me. So that's why I'm relating it to you in that framework. But you know, it basically was the opposite of comparison shopping. It was comparison shopping for a higher price instead of a lower, which is kind of anathema to my entire being. So that is the first myth. Myth number 2. Oh, this one is a good one and a quick one to get over. You must wash your baby's clothing. I have these written down, FYI. You must wash your baby's clothing and linens in Dreft. Everything else is bad for their skin. No, it's not. No, it's not. I had heard this from so many people that when I was pregnant, I went to my grocery store to look at the price of the Dreft, figuring, well, I'll get an idea of, basically just getting an idea how much it costs as a regular item, and then thinking, I'll wait for coupons and sales. Coupons and sales never came, by the way. I went there, and a small bottle, tiny bottle, was $11. $11. No. Beyond the price point, Dreft is heavily fragranced. Kids with extremely sensitive skin, kids with issues like my son, with eczema, it's not the best option for them. In fact, the best option for them is to buy the Free and Clear detergent. Whatever your favorite brand is. There is absolutely no reason to be shelling out for the expensive baby-specific laundry detergents unless you want to. Maybe you like the scent of Dreft and that's why you're buying it. So we already had been using Free and Clear detergent. So that's what we used for our son. And we use the spiked rubbery plastic, not sure if they're technically plastic or rubber. That's a question. But those dryer balls, the ones that are, most of ours are blue, but we have 2 of the pink that have smooth areas to try to reduce static. That's what I have used, my husband and I have used for over a decade. Free and Clear detergents and dryer balls. No fabric softener, no fragrance, no dye, no nothing. So that's what we used on our son's clothes and linens. And believe it or not, that was cheaper. We got more detergent at a lower price. We also could mix his clothes in with our clothes and do a mixed load instead of having to reserve his clothes into their own load because they weren't getting any special detergent or special fabric softener. They were just getting what we regularly used. And similarly, I have one of my best friends is a cloth diaper person, and she said and uses a specific type of Tide. According to her research and her own experience, it was the best detergent for getting her diapers clean. So use your own judgment. Don't just default to the expensive detergent. If there's a reason you're doing it, like I said, like let's say you love the scent of it and it makes you think baby and that's what you want to do that. But the idea that it's somehow better for a baby's skin isn't true. If you're somebody who's freaking out going, I can't afford an $11 bottle of Dreft, what am I going to do? How am I going to clean my kids' clothes? Or you're looking at going into debt to pay for it, pick your favorite brand of detergent, whatever it may be. Tide, Purex, all and Purex are 2 of my favorites, which is why I'm mentioning them. I've used so many different ones, but because I'm not really brand loyal, I'm more price point loyal. So I have a set price point I will not pay above, and I buy a ton at once and then I save them, so I have a really, really low cost of laundry detergent. But just get the Free and Clear version. Your kid skin will be fine with no perfume and no dye. But if you're going into debt and you're doing so because you think it's better, don't. It's not. It really isn't. It's just more expensive. It's just corner to market with babies. And that's it. Another myth is if they slap baby on it, it's a better product than the one marketed toward adults. Things like Vaseline, Aquifer. So there's so many different companies that put together a line of products that they have a different sticker on it that says baby, and then they have a line for adults with a different sticker that doesn't. Adding the sticker baby usually adds several dollars to the price tag. because again, people want the best for their kid and they're willing to pay more money because they think it's better. And when it says baby on it, well, it's got to be a different formula, doesn't it? It's not. Things like that. Like I said, Aquifer to me is one of the worst offenders, because it is literally identical product. Identical. But the one that says baby on it costs between $2 to $5 more depending on where you are. There is no reason to be buying one with a picture of a baby or picture of a rattle or the word baby on it. Instead of just buying things because they say baby on them, compare them with the adult version and read the ingredients. You know, take them out, put them side by side and read the ingredients and see if the ingredients are in the same order. If they're in the same order, that means the product is the same because all the percentages are identical. There are some items that the baby version is better for babies. Specifically, I'm thinking Vicks Vapor Rub Baby. The reason that's better is it has a different percentage of the different essential oils in it, so that it's not as strong for the baby. My husband bought it and I originally yelled at him about it and said, that's ridiculous, go back and buy the regular one. And he brought the bottle out and said, look at the ingredients. He's like, this isn't the same product. This is a gentler product and I don't want to use the regular one on my child. And after he said that, I said, you know what, you're right. So there are products that, yes, there are differences between the real one and the baby one. However, if you notice there's a huge price difference, and there's an adult version and a baby version, always check the ingredients first because 9 out of 10 times, they're the same thing. So we're to my final thing on my list of myths I was told that had I believed them, I would have gone into some severe financial debt. The last one is one that is near and dear to my heart because not only was I told this by regular people, I was actually told this by a pediatrician. And I had to explain to the pediatrician that they were wrong. And that is, hold on, I'm getting out the page. Generic products are inferior and should not be used. As well as generic baby formula is bad because we don't know what's in it or where it's made. And again, I'm not arguing pro formula, pro breastfeed. I'm not arguing pro cloth diaper, pro disposable diaper. I'm just telling you what my experience was and the things that I was told by many people. You may have never heard these. You might have heard some. You could have heard different ones. But this was my life experience. Like I said, this one kind of stuck in me a little bit because not only was I told this just by everyday people giving baby advice, but I was told this by one of the pediatricians in my son's practice, and that really bothered me. Our household is a generic household. We use generic products a lot. If you're someone like me who coupons and stockpiles, if you're running low on something and you're gonna have to pay, the dreaded full price, the generic is still going to be a discount off. And sometimes the stores put the generic products on sale and then they're even better deals. There are entire stores devoted to nothing but generic products. Aldi and Trader Joe's are largely their own label stores. They get their own food made for them and their own items made for them. That makes them generic. Now, I don't think anybody would ever say something coming from Trader Joe's or Aldi's was an inferior product, especially Trader Joe's. But they are technically store label products, which is what we would call generic. Because we use a lot of genetic products already on ourselves, on our animals, we use a lot of generic products on our son, and some of them we actually prefer. For example, diapers. We prefer the Target generic up and up diapers, both for regular and overnight diapers. But the biggest thing we like about the Target brand, the biggest thing, there's no scent to them. The smell of Pampers makes me and my husband sick. They are so heavily perfumed, it's like, oh, I can't take it. And I know people who are like You have to use nothing but Pampers. Don't you dare put a generic diaper on that baby. The Target ones have no scent. None. And oh, it's such a relief. So that's really the biggest reason we prefer Target. No leaks, bigger diaper, no smell. Now the biggest savings we had came from formula. Like I said, I could not breastfeed. It wasn't an option. So we had to do formula one way or another. Once my son was eating normally and putting on weight, we could take him off of the special preemie formula and put him onto the regular formula. As soon as he was put on the regular formula, switched him to the Up and Up Target generic formula. It was much cheaper and you got more powder. And I would wait for it to go on sale. They would do this whole, if you buy 2 or 3 at once, we'll give you a gift card, things like that. I used the Target Cartwheel app to drop the price even more. When they had Target store coupons, I'd print one out, my sister would print one out, my mom would print one out, my mother-in-law would print one out, so I would get multiple containers and reduce the price even further. Now, hi everyone, I'm sorry I had to take a tiny break because somebody woke up crying from his nap. That's why he still has his binky. I figured since we were talking about him, oh, and he realized he's in the viewfinder, woo! Since we were talking about him, he could come and hang out for this last point. So, as I was saying, yeah, now you're happy. Now you're happy because you're on camera. You silly goose. He's always been praised by the pediatricians for how healthy he is. You want down and play? Okay, go down and play. That kid is perfectly fine. I made the mistake of telling one of the pediatricians that we were using the Target formula, and she read me the riot act about how we don't know what's in it, etc., etc. So I had to explain to the pediatrician that nothing she said was accurate. There are a lot of really stringent federal laws when it comes to the production of baby formula. Formula that's sold in the US has to be made in the US. Number one, has to have its manufacturing place listed. Number two. And number three, it has to meet federal nutritional guideline standards. And if you're not sure what those are, you can look them up. You can Google them. So that's why everything that pediatrician said wasn't true. It's not known wherever. It doesn't contain whatever ingredients and of unknown nutritional value. It still has to meet federal guidelines to be sold in the United States. So I told her that, and she looked like she was mad that I talked back, by the way, and said to me, well, that's not the position of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I mean, basically she's calling federal guidelines a lie because the Pediatricians Association hasn't updated what they say to reflect it. It was a weird kind of her getting annoyed that I bothered to say something and the fact that I'd actually researched it. But that's the truth. Even generic formula is safe and a good option for your baby. And again, if you're someone like me who couldn't breastfeed, had no option about breastfeeding, and were on a tight budget when it came to formula. I mean, the cost of formula is terrifying. And you can either go into debt and spend a ton of money on name brand formula, or you can use the generic that's just as good. And like I said, my son never gets sick, first of all. This kid's been sick twice in his life and he's almost 2. He's never gone to the doctor for a sick visit. He is like the healthiest kid they say they've seen. They look at his chart and can't believe there's nothing in there because he never goes. He goes for wellness checkups and that's it. So you can't tell me that somehow he's nutritionally deprived because he was given generic formula. And understand, again, you can look up the government's requirements for formula to be sold here. So you can actually see that there is no nutritional deficit to these, and you can look at the numbers the government recommends and you can take that and use that against the container of the formula and see, is it just a government guideline or is it higher, and what's higher, and you can kind of be more of an educated consumer. Having kids, especially very, very young kids, is never going to be a cheap thing to do. And while yes, things like cloth diapering and breastfeeding can reduce those costs, if those aren't options for you or aren't what you want to do, there are ways to reduce your cost. Just try to do your own research, talk to manufacturers, talk to stores, talk to your pediatrician, talk to family members, talk to family members like grandparents and great aunts and people who were of a different baby raising generation, and ask them what they think, because they're going to tell you something probably different than the person who just had a baby last year. That is the list. That is my list of the myths I was told about having a baby who's wandering around me, behind me, dancing away and holding his toy. You guys finally got to see him in real, actual time, because he has sometimes been dancing in the background. I try to film while he's napping, and it's not always gonna happen. But you guys got to see him, and he's adorable, and he's just being silly right now because he's waiting for me to shut up. So if you were told any myths that you heard that you thought were just nuts and would have cost you a ton of money, please put them in the comments. And again, if you have the money and the desire to buy into these, or you don't believe in generics, or you don't want to buy used, or whatever it is, and you can afford to do so, by all means. It's your life, it's your money, it's your child. But if you're someone who feels like you're being bullied into it, if you're somebody who really can't afford those things and you feel like you have to because people are telling you you need to, do your research and give alternate things a try and see what happens, and see how, see that the world isn't going to end. Your kid's head isn't going to fall off because they wore a generic diaper once. And like I said, especially if you're somebody who is having issues paying for your child and you don't want to go into debt, and you really have to save every penny, and then please take my list and see which ones you're comfortable with changing. But yes, every parent wants the same thing. Every parent wants their child to have a healthy, happy, wonderful life. Nobody wants to deny their children something. Nobody is deliberately doing these things to harm children. Everybody believes they're doing the best for their child. And it's just when it starts to cross the line is when doing your best starts to harm you as a family. So please keep that in mind. That's my, I guess, general wisdom for this video. If it's harming you and your family, then reevaluate. He literally woke up crying and had a short nap. So I just had to look at the clock. He had a short nap. So he does this head shaking when he's tired. Oh, dude, you want to come say bye? Yeah, that's the danger. You don't believe the myths. You'll end up with a kid like this who's adorable and cute and just realize he's on camera again and he's being shy. So anyway, I cannot wait to see Amanda's video. I can't wait to see what she says, to see if she heard different things, if she heard the same things. I also can't wait to see her perspective on older children. Terrifying. Because someday he's gonna get bigger and things are gonna change. But I appreciate you for listening. I am Liz, the Frugal Libertarian. My blog is frugallibertarian.com. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do. If you've never been to Amanda's channel, please follow the link in the description and go watch her video and then subscribe to her channel. She's so fantastic. And we'll be seeing you soon with more frugal advice, more stories about family like this teeny dude, and more stories on freedom. I'll talk to you soon and have a great evening. Bye! Finn, can you say bye?